Vince Carter with his first stop. Finale on the first round for Vince Carter. Oh, it did not. All right, Vince Carter with his first on the final round.
Canada! Now Nurse with the floater. Stolen by Langlois. She's got Kia Nurse. Nurse up with the left hand and in. Standing ovation for Team Canada.
Good morning, sports fans, and welcome to the inaugural edition of the Unathletic. I'm Jonathan Chan, alongside Kyle Miari.
Good morning, Jonathan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing perfect. How are you enjoying your first NHL playoffs in Canada?
It's been pretty good. A lot of surprise. We just saw what the Blue Jackets did against the Tampa Bay Lightning, but it's a very good time. We have something really special to talk about today, that is the growth of Canadian basketball.
That's right, Kyle. It is an exciting time to be a part of Canadian basketball. This season, we saw RJ Barrett turn himself into one of the NBA's best prospects for this year's draft. We also saw Kia Nurse being drafted in the top 10 in the WNBA draft last season.
That's right. Nurse for sure is one of the first names that comes to mind when talking about Canadian basketball. She deserves a lot of attention for what she has done nowadays, and our reporter Josh Howe has more details about it.
At 10th overall, Nurse was the highest Canadian woman drafted in the WNBA since Natalie Achonwa was called at number 8 in 2014. More than that, Nurse has her own Nike-backed AAU program that will play on the Elite Youth Basketball League circuit in the U.S. When asked about the growth of Canadian basketball in Canada, Nurse said, "I'm giving these girls the opportunity to see what they can do, whatever they want to do, at any level, if they put their mind to it." Nurse also had this to say regarding Canadian basketball.
Where do you see the growth of women's basketball in Canada today?
It's continuing to get bigger. Growing up, Canada was always a hockey place, and rightfully so, obviously, with the great success we've had. But now, with the success the Raptors have had over the last couple of years, the ability for the Canadian national team on both the men's and the women's side to play on home soil and play in front of home crowds with the Pan Ams and the Olympic qualifiers, it's just becoming much more of a basketball country. And now you see so many people going over to the States or having incredible careers here in the CIS, and that's so much fun to see. And it's allowing the young kids and the young women to look up and say, hey, I want to play some basketball, and that's great.
Would you say that it's time for Canada to get its own WNBA team?
I would love for them to have one, but obviously I think there's a whole lot that goes into that on both sides, the economic side and trying to get people here. But I think the climate here would be a great place for fans and ability to grow the game. I think we would do a great job of showing a lot of love to a WNBA team for sure.
Years past, they had the game as sort of a showcase game. This year's the first game. It's sort of as the All-Canadian. It's going to be live on TSN. What does that say about the evolution of women's basketball in Canada?
Definitely the evolution is growing for just females basketball. I know the senior team is ranked 5th in the world, so Canada is on a come up, and it's showing them that we can ball.
Same question I'll ask you. Years past, this was sort of considered a showcase game. It wasn't the main feature. Now you're here. It's going to be live on TSN as the All-Canadian game. What does that say about the evolution of women's basketball in Canada?
It says a lot, honestly. You speak volumes to everyone in the gym, everyone that's contributing, the women, the coaches, everyone. Honestly, I'm honored to be here.
What does it mean to you to kind of represent the next generation of women's basketball with these players?
Oh, it feels amazing because I remember a few years back I was in those little girls' positions and watching online today on TV. Just feeling inspired and motivated to get out on the court and be the best player you can be. So I'm just really honored to be like a role model for younger girls watching this game today, and I'm very honored as well.
No, the women's game overall has taken a big step. We had a great game last week against Mac in our OUA final. It looked like, we had a number of people say at the end of the game it looked like a high-level men's game out there, and that truly is an example of where women's basketball has gone. And I mean, people like Brooklyn and MA show that they can step up and play at that level.
Do you think it's time for Canada to have a WNBA team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we need our best players with the opportunity to play on a WNBA franchise. I mean, to have the players that we do have right now playing in Indiana and New York, and to have that in Toronto, I think would just help grow our game that much further. To have that front and center, to have that pro franchise in Toronto. Just what Vince Carter and the Raptors did on the men's side and for basketball in this country, that can be have the same impact for us on the women's side. So I think we got to make that happen. Yeah, that's a must.
A laundry list of Canadians are starring in the NCAA, breaking records and claiming weekly conference awards, and promising to make for a historic draft in June. Canada's talent pool has never been deeper. Josh Howe, The Athletic Toronto, back to you.
Thank you, Josh. Now, of course, we can't speak about the growth of Canadian basketball without mentioning Air Canada himself, Vince Carter. February 13th, 2000, Carter won the dunk contest and started a movement across Canada of the growth of Canadian basketball. Of course, now all the Canadian NBA players coming up mention Vince Carter as their one inspiration, including Kia Nurse.
Nurse, even being only 23 years old, she's already one of the face of Canadian basketball. We got to remember that in 2015, in the Pan American Games, when the women's basketball Canadian team won the gold medal, she was carrying the flag to represent the Canadian basketball. This is a moment, even being for her being so young, that will be in history forever.
Speaking of history, Kyle, head coach Teresa Burns, who has been the McMaster coach for over 25 years and won the U Sports Championship this past year, also gave her opinion on the growth of Canadian basketball.
I think the growth in the game has been amazing to watch. It's just so wonderful as a longtime basketball person to see the growth. I think a lot of it started with coaching. I think our coaching development has really been a key to this. And you look at the number of people coaching in the country now and the certification that's available to them, and the teaching and education on the coaching side. I think that for sure has been a big thing. I think it's actually kind of a societal change as well. I think just the growth in women's sport, and you see it in women's soccer, and the Christine Sinclair phenomenon, and you see it in women's hockey, and same thing in basketball. It's society has finally caught up and said, yeah, this is the real deal, and women deserve this. And I think you throw the good coaching in on that train, and it's all kind of snowballed into some great growth.
And the skill level, the depth of skill now is unprecedented, right?
Yeah. I mean, girls are playing at a very young age. They're getting that good coaching at a young age. Their fundamentals are there, and I think the other part of it too is that we've started to have some superstars. We've started to have the Kia Nurses of the world, and it absolutely. And I mean, you can look at the research, but you don't have to look at research to understand that if I'm a little girl and I see that, I can believe that I can be that. And I didn't have that when I was growing up at all, like not even close. And that's huge.
It is interesting to see Burns speaking about this subject once she's very active in the basketball community, playing a big role in shaping the future of a sport from micro level as a coach and investor to the sport.
Yes, we do hope this trend keeps rolling for the next few years. Now it's time for another presentation in class.
Yeah, that's right, Jonathan. I see you tomorrow with another busy show because we have the NHL playoffs going on.
Of course, for sure, we'll see everybody tomorrow, and happy Wednesday.